Hi guys, it's the Fibromyalgia Warrior here. Just wanted to follow up with my next installment of my story of my medical history, which I warned you guys at the first video that there is going to be multiple videos because I have multiple coinciding conditions along with my fibromyalgia. I had to write this down so I don't forget anything because there's that much, okay? If you haven't seen my first video from a couple days ago, I talk all about having food addiction and disordered eating. Now, I am in recovery. There isn't a cure, but I'm in recovery. So if that's something that you're interested in because you know somebody with similar issues, feel free to check it out. If you're also in recovery and you just, want to hear someone else's story, please, I would love it if you would check it out. The second video I made was what it is like to live with chronic and quite serious anxiety on top of having fibromyalgia. And there may be a lot of you out there. It's generalized anxiety. It's not about one particular thing, but that might be you or that might not be. But I figured we all have some anxiety these days because, hello, pandemic. In which case, it might help you or it might help you understand maybe what someone you know is struggling with or someone you know and love is going through. So feel free to check that one out as well. And then I spoke about having irritable bowel syndrome or irritating irritating bloating stomach, another term I like to call it, and how the anxiety that I get over whatever situation it might be, meeting new people, being in a new situation, again, living through a pandemic, that will set off my IBS, and that will also contribute towards that used to be a factor in fueling my food addiction and my disordered eating, and it also would play a role just in my overall physical health because, the cortisol goes way up and the adrenals work overtime and your digestion is affected and everything kind of slows down. You're in this fight or flight mode. I also shared in the video after that about how I also have Raynaud's syndrome. So if that's something you want to know more about, or maybe you have it and you just want to say, hey, here's somebody who has it too, that might be worth checking out. Today's video, sorry, I can't speak at the moment, is another set of conditions that I live with, and that is living with osteoarthritis and chronic musculoskeletal pain. So I just want to say quickly, for people who don't know what fibromyalgia is or means, fibro, it means your soft tissues. I can't remember if that was from the ancient Greek or Latin. And myalgia means all over. So it's basically, it's pain. Myalgia means pain, like far widespread pain in the soft tissue. So all your muscles, your tendons, that kind of thing. Okay. Musculoskeletal, at least in my case, is referring to non-muscular pain. So it would be things like finger joints, wrist joints, and where the thumb joints to the hands, as well as vertebrae and the discs in between, in my particular case. So I was told back in 2015 that the pain I was suffering, this horrible burning pain that would cause my wrists to feel like they were inflamed and burning up, and that it became almost impossible for me to type for any length of time. I couldn't really hold a book up properly anymore, so By that point, I was using a Kindle for reading. Made it really difficult to try to still complete my work that I was doing, because at the time I was still working full time. And I was told, after being referred to the rheumatologist a couple of times, that in fact, and on to a specialist, was that in fact, no, I did not have lupus. No, I did not have rheumatoid arthritis. What they did say was that I definitely had osteoarthritis in my thumb, so like down in this area, okay? And the pain I would often feel in my wrists and in my fingers was likely osteoarthritis as well. However, there are hundreds of types of arthritis that exist, and that the pain I feel in my knee joints, in my ankles, and in the joints of my toes were also likely some form of arthritis. Which, to me, I was in my 40s. Like, I had no idea why this was happening. They couldn't really explain to me why it happened, just that sometimes people with fibromyalgia also have arthritis. And in my case, that's exactly what happened. So they are, of course, two separate conditions. And the tricky part is that if you don't have a diagnosis of fibromyalgia already, then it could take a while for them to come up with a diagnosis for you. But honestly, if you're having feelings of like swollen joints and tenderness, say if you're doing too much of this, typing or playing on your phone, or, difficulty with holding household objects, then, like for me, it hurts. If I was to lift a kettle that was too full of hot water, it would be too sore for my wrists. I couldn't do it. I still can't do it. It hurts. It's too sore. It's too painful. Please, please, please get it checked out. Because whether you have rheumatoid arthritis or osteoarthritis, or you have some other form of arthritis, chances are, one, you could be taking medications that are causing additional inflammation. So you want to know what you have so you can, prevent that. And also, two, or part B, you could be eating foods that are causing the joints to get inflamed and not realize it. I was avoiding foods that I knew would upset my gut for IBS, but it turns out a lot of the foods that were affecting my guts were also affecting my joints. And I know that now, but at the time, I had no idea what was going on. So I just wanted to share how make sure that you are your own advocate, I guess. And if you think you could have arthritis symptoms, even if you're in your 40s, goodness sakes, you can get it in your 30s. But if you feel like you're having all this pain in your joints and stiffness and swelling, please get it checked out. And don't necessarily just accept the first answer, I guess, from your GP. If they don't have a definitive answer for you, then ask if they can put you through to a specialist, because it might take a while, but it could also be something that becomes really important to know, and therefore you can treat it the right way. The other thing that helped me, and I still do it a lot, is I wear compression gloves regularly. I'm not at the moment because I just took them off a little while ago. But if I'm going to be working on the keyboard or anything like that, I always put them on. Okay, so it helps to prevent stiffness in my joints. The other thing that I live with is chronic musculoskeletal pain, which is a really fancy explanation. And for me, the majority of that pain is in my lower back, like down near my tailbone. And as I had found out, that a lot of the injuries I suffered over the years as, growing up in Canada. So, every winter, you're almost always guaranteed to fall at least once on the ice, on the sidewalk, or you're guaranteed to fall at least once on going sledding, right? So you have all the bumps and bangs that happen as a kid, just growing up playing outdoors in the wintertime. I've had my fair share of spectacular wipeouts skiing with my family. I remember trying to walk through a bit of an icy parking lot after a day of skiing and just wiping out on the ice and landing on my butt. So all of that falling over time, it can add up in the body, right? If your body doesn't quite heal properly for one reason or another. And to be honest, I can't remember. I think it might have been 2008. Yeah, summer of 2008. We were having a big clear out of our place where we lived in Canada. And I slipped at the top of the stairs from the side of the kitchen down to our basement. And I hit my tailbone on every step on the way down. I think there's like 12 steps. No carpeting. Okay, these are just wooden steps. And I ended up fracturing my tailbone. So that did not help me in any way. Okay, so that contributed to my chronic musculoskeletal pain because, the repetitive motion of when my kids were really little, constantly picking them up, putting them in their high chair, picking up their toys, the things that moms do all the time with small children. As I got older, picking up after them, picking up after myself and my husband, not having good posture, and that basically, plus the fact that by the time my fibromyalgia had flared up back in 2014, so 6.5 years ago, I was not eating a healthy diet. I had been I had lost a little bit of weight, but I was a bit overweight. I was constantly under stress, and having this long and lengthy history of falls and spills where I'd either had minor or significant injury to my lower back caused chronic pain to that part of me. And that is probably what played a huge part in the accident that, all the doctors think probably set off the fibro. They probably think it was either kind of in, what do they call it? Not submission, in remission. It was probably just very, very mild because I'd always had suffered with lower back issues, with pain, with having bad knees, not being able to run or do any real jogging because it would always cause pain in my lower back. But when I was bending to take laundry out of our dryer, March of 2014, I happened to have just done enough of the bending and twisting that one of my lumbar discs prolapsed, meaning it bulged out. Not enough to touch the spinal nerves, right? Luckily, so there wasn't any paralysis. However, it was enough to irritate them, and I ended up being stuck, kind of like a Barbie, folded in half, and I could not straighten up. And of course, it took numerous referrals and eventually getting an MRI. So this happened in March. I finally got an MRI done in June where they confirmed that, yes, the disc had bulged outwards to the right. But even though I still suffer with pain in that area, not to the same extent, thankfully, but because it's so close enough to the nerves to cause irritation that they think arthritis could have developed there, possibly, but if nothing else, that sort of fed onto the other, right? So you've got the osteoarthritis, which I was told could have easily developed in my spine or in my lower back just because of the repetitive injuries, on top of the chronic musculoskeletal pain that was caused by these multiple injuries and stress to the body and the brain, which has put my fibromyalgia in a constant state of flare-up. And then, of course, I've now learned that if you eat inflammatory foods, which for me are things like gluten, soy, dairy, sugar, processed carbs, processed anything really, but a lot of the foods that would have irritated my gut also cause everything else to flare up as well. So yeah, so it can be fun. So when I find that happy place, which I am trying to get better about, I do spend more time praying now than I used to. I do spend more time in quiet meditation, just enjoying my nice relaxing jazz playlists, etc., or nature sounds. When that helps to calm me mentally and emotionally, I find that my back doesn't tighten up, because it's almost like, okay, when my disc went out, my body automatically clenched up and tightened to protect it, right? So it wouldn't go out any worse. The body's amazing that way. If you get injured, then it does everything it can to try to start healing the injured site instantly, which would have been fine, except that with the fibromyalgia, even when the bulge retracted a bit, to the point where they weren't as concerned. I mean, it's still bulged, but not like it was. As far as my brain was aware, it was still a, like warning, danger, don't enter zone, flashing lights, like crime scene tape, the whole thing, right? Even though the injury is somewhat healed, right? Because that's fibromyalgia. It's your brain deciding that something that really doesn't cause pain normally is causing you unbelievable amounts of pain. For whatever reason, the signals in the brain get a little bit fuzzed up. But that's why I think a lot of people who have fibromyalgia, their muscle pain may not be bad. But if you've got a history of old injuries or arthritis or both, plus, other things like, what have I said? Right. Anxiety and IBS and Raynaud's, it all works together to create this perfect storm of chaotic pain that never seems to calm down. But I would just say this. Obviously, my sympathies, if you struggle with this like I do, you have my sympathies and all of my support and best wishes. It's okay if you have tried different things to try to help with the pain and it doesn't work, okay? And people will, out of the goodness of their hearts, offer you suggestions, whether you ask for them or not, okay? They might suggest, try physiotherapy or hydrotherapy or go to yoga. But listen, the one thing I had to do is be confident and say, look, this could help with that person, but I'm dealing with a spinal injury, and I am in no way capable of twisting myself in knots, doing yoga or whatever, and that's okay. That is okay, right? You have to work out whatever works for you for your relief. Those things may work. They didn't help me at all. They didn't work for me. Trying to just have a calming playlist of nature sounds, of like rain or the wind blowing or some bossa nova jazz in the background or swing band music in the background, that calms me down. That helps me. That's just me. So whatever it is that gives you a sense of peace for yourself, please do it. And the other thing is, if you're watching this because you know somebody, or like you're super, super close to somebody who has fibro, if they haven't asked for your advice, please don't give it, okay? Because they will be feeling frustrated as it is, and although you may be coming from a place of good intentions, believe me, They don't want to be given yet another suggestion. Okay. Anyways, guys, that one was a bit longer. Sorry about that, but I hope it was helpful. Hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, if you did like it, please give me a thumbs up. That'd be great. And if you haven't already subscribed, it'd be great if you joined. You know, build a bigger support family. Why not, right? Anyways, guys, thanks for now. And the next video is going to be all about, ooh, fun. Okay. Having fibromyalgia along with hypothyroidism, because I have that too. So until then, guys, thank you, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.